Hello, sixth graders. Wanted to let you know what you're going to be doing on Monday, September 21st, or Tuesday, September 22nd. Now I'm in Monday's group, so if you are a Tuesday group, just never mind the date and it will be the same information, but you will be getting it September 22nd, which is on Tuesday. So I did post something in the stream today that came out at 7:30 this morning. And as you can see, it says kind of what you'll need. You'll need your notebook. Obviously, you're going to be Zooming with me today, so you'll have your iPad. You'll need a pencil, and then you need the mapping skills worksheet that I gave you in the packet before you left school, or it was given to you in your science class by Mrs. Everson on Wednesday or Thursday before you left. So this just shows that it's always a good idea to check stream. Just to make sure that there's anything, maybe reminders. That's really what I'll use the stream for, is just kind of reminders as to what you maybe need to bring to class if it's something other than the normal supplies. So now I'm going to go into classwork. Just click on classwork. And as you can see, Monday, September 21st, we are calling this our online. That means that we are Zooming in today. We are online. And then I've posted what we're doing in class, and then I've posted your homework. So I have that in two separate places. Homework, there is something that will need to be handed in. And I noticed that it says no due date. It will actually be due on Tuesday for those of you that are Monday kiddos. If you are a Tuesday kiddo, it will be due on Wednesday, so the day after class. So I'm going to start by clicking on the in class. It says if you are absent, you're going to be watching the video. That's the one that you're watching right now. Today we will work on using map features. So we're looking at map features, meaning things like scale, things like a map key, the map title, all those cool things that are found on a map that helps us read it like a book. So we're going to be working on what's called the basics. And so this activity is found on slides 17 through 23 in this Geography Unit 2020, okay? Then we will go to the activity page, and that is found on pages 18 or slides 18 through 21. We'll be looking at that and using a notebook. So we want to set up a notebook in 2-column notes. One side, the left side, is going to be title, and the other side is going to be questions. You will have 4 maps to look at for that one. And then the third thing that we're going to be doing is practicing using the scale. So this is kind of a hard skill to learn, measuring distance on the map using the scale. So that can be measured in using millimeters or using inches on a ruler, or I will show you how to set up a paper scale in your homework section, and I'll also show you in class too. On the map, you'll actually be measuring in miles, or you'll have the option to measure in kilometers. So either way is fine with me. A lot of times I will tell you it's up to you. There's various times where I'll say that you have to measure in one or the other. Okay. So when we go into our geography unit, I'm just going to click on this. All right, now that this slideshow is open, I just want to let you know that in class we will go over all the information on here. The first one here talks about the title. So we'll read through that and look at different titles on maps. Usually that's a pretty easy thing to find. Ultimately the title tells us really what we're going to be learning about. Number 2, what most maps have is a key. So we will see this key here and we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at a couple different keys. In our next class, you'll actually be making a map key. So we'll be looking at that as well. Okay, so a lot of times the map key has lots of colors and exactly what those colors represent. The next one is our scale, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So we have a scale that shows us north, south, east, and west. We're pretty good with that. We did the battleship activity. So you guys, I felt like you guys are pretty good at moving north, south, east, and west from a location. So then we're going to move on to the scale. Because it's a little harder, we're going to take a couple days with it. So we're going to start it early and we'll continue to practice this. So, the scale really shows you distance from one location to another or from one place to another. So for this next activity, we are going to be looking at specific maps, and I will need you to take out your notebook, and I want you to complete a chart that looks like this. So there are going to be 4 maps that we're going to be looking at. This is our split column notes. We have the title on one side, and then we have a question or a couple questions that we're going to answer on the other side. So we use this in class to help us just kind of look at, okay, I'm writing the title down. I'm getting used to writing the information in my notebook. So this is how you're going to set up your notebook. All right, now we're on the next slide. In the next slide, you notice that there is a map, and then there's some questions underneath it. So we're looking at this map, and then we're answering the questions 1, 2, and 3. We will answer the questions in our notebook and as a class, so we'll just kind of go through them together. Question number 1 is, what is the title of this map? As we can see up here at the top, it's a pretty easy title. It's nice and big. It tells us what we're going to learn about. This is a map of Australia, obviously. So on your number 1, under title, under the title column, you'll write the word Australia. It's right there in the text on the map. Number 2 is a key needed to help you understand what this is showing you. So what do you think? Do we need to have a key? Do we not have a key? What are some other things that we see? Usually in a key, we will have things like the color of the water, or if there's a specific body of water. Here we really only have one body of water, so we probably wouldn't need to have that in our key. Obviously, we can see Australia as an island. We see the land. We don't need that in our key. The only thing that we could have in our key would be these small little dots. These are cities. And then what do you think this red dot is here? Yeah, the red dot would represent the capital. Okay, so that would help us if we were to have a key. In number 3, it says circle the compass on this compass and the scale. So where do you see the compass at? If you look carefully, here's the compass. It just has an N. This is obviously north, south, east, and west. And then as you see the scale down in the left-hand corner, that's where the scale is. All right, so as we look through the other maps, we have a map that is called California Physical Map. And you can answer the questions here. What is the title? That's what I just read to you. And then it says circle the key on this map. Now you're not able to circle it, but just notice where that key is in this bottom corner and what it points out. So we look at dark brown as the highest elevation, and then we have below sea level is that light yellow color. So you can see that on the map. So we obviously know from looking at the key what we're going to find out. That's what a physical map has. Population density is the next map. And we're looking at Africa. And just to point out, this is the area that we're studying this year. So this African map is super important. You'll see it quite a bit. This is Egypt in here. So we will definitely be looking at this area of the Mediterranean Sea region. Okay, actually next class you'll be coloring a map and putting in a map key of that area of the Mediterranean Sea. So looking at the questions, what is this map's title? And then number 2, population density refers to how closely people are living together. So in class we talked about population being something that was important in regards to regions when we were looking at what a region is. So highly densely populated areas versus maybe country living where it's less populated. So it says, for example, population density would be higher in a city than in the country. I placed a square around Egypt. Are you able to determine the population density for Egypt? Why or why not? So when we look at that, are we able to figure that out? Population density wise. So we would have to look at, in this case, the map key. Does a map key show us population density? And looking at this, it's kind of difficult to understand, but one thing that I do want to tell you is we're looking at the whole map of Africa. We're not just looking at Egypt. So if we had Egypt alone, then it probably would be easier to determine that. So we would have to answer no to this question. It doesn't give us, enough information to be able to determine, when we look at the question, are we able to determine population density for Egypt? No, we are not able to do that. So we don't have distinct or specific enough information. Okay, so we can see where the highly density areas are, population density areas are, because they're going to be kind of those orange or bright red areas. But overall, Egypt, we don't know that information. That's not given to us. So it's okay for that one to answer no. The last one, map number 4, is our annual average snowfall. You'll see this one a couple times as we're working on maps and reading maps and analyzing the data. So what is this map showing you? Well, if we look at the title, annual average snowfall, that's what it's showing. The IN afterwards means that it's showing you that in inches, okay? And then it says circle the map, the key on this map. So obviously you're not going to be able to circle it because you don't have access to it. But you can look at it and just kind of pay attention as to what the different shading represents. So we have this dark gray, and that represents 0 inches all the way up to, if we look at and think about math, 0.1, so 1/10 of an inch, to 12, we jump to 12, to 24, to 36, and then 48 plus is that darker purple. You know, if we want to analyze this, we can say, well, why do we think that the dark purple is where it is? Okay, think about where the equator is. Think about how the distance from the equator, we know that that gets colder as you get further from the equator. We also know that this is a mountain range area. There's some mountains over here right on here, the Appalachian Mountains that you guys talked about last year. So, you know, if you kind of analyze the data and think about what the land's like, what you already know about the land, that really helps you understand maps, okay? So it's kind of like using your prior knowledge when you're reading something in reading class or even in social studies class. What do you already know about that? What do we already know about the United States? What do we know about those land formations and where they're located, okay? We also have, if you think over here, what are these? They're white right now, but typically if we had them on a map that we were shading in or coloring, they'd be blue because they are waters, bodies of waters. So a lot of times we have cold or wind, and we get more snow in those areas. Higher elevation, sometimes we get more snow. So mountains and bodies of water is where we're going to see more of that snowfall. So really trying to not just say, well, yeah, you can see it by looking at the map key and understanding it that way, but really trying to analyze. That's what we're going to look at this year, really trying to dig deeper into just what the surface of the map says. Okay. So the next activity that we did in class today is working on scale. So you have this in your packet. You have this worksheet in your packet. And this is we're looking at the directions are not exactly what you're going to follow, but we're just going to be looking at this map today. We're not going to do map 1 and 2, and this is where I asked you to have a ruler. If you have a ruler, that's great. If not, I will show you in the directions section where you have your homework. And in that video, I'll show you how to use your ruler. I'll show you how to use a Post-it note or even just a piece of paper that you might have from your notebook. We should all have notebooks at home. So I will show you those directions and give you directions to how to figure this activity out and how to do this activity that we're working on in class. Okay, so that's where we are at. Once you get to this slide, you're going to want to jump over to the homework because this will be homework to work on, and you will need to send it in and upload it into Google Classroom for your classwork. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate or bother to email me. Please do that, and then I can help you out in the afternoon, and we can possibly Zoom together to help you understand a little bit more, whether it's scale or any of the other activities that we did. Have a great day.